Cancel Netflix. It's trending on social media. It's become a major national conversation. What did Netflix do? For most of us, it's been what we watch while we stuff all kinds of chicken tenders and mac and cheese and ice cream to excess in our mouths during this COVID pandemic. But they make all kinds of programming decisions, and sometimes those decisions, well, to call it inexplicable might be far too generous. Other words you could certainly use. Tiana Lowe is with us now to discuss. She is a commentary writer at the Washington Examiner. Tiana, thanks for joining. What is Cuties on Netflix, and why is everyone on the right, at least, including me, shocked?
So I watched Cuties so that you all don't have to. And fuck, what I can tell you is I currently need a lobotomy and a Xanax. It was easily the most disgusting piece of pop culture I have ever seen.
What is it? Folks don't even necessarily know. Tell them. What are you seeing?
So it won the Best Director Award at Sundance. It's a French film directed and written and about a French Muslim girl of Senegalese origin. And it is the sort of French godless leftist dichotomy of a hyper-sacred religious extremist form of sexism, and then also a secular anti-religious form of sexism. It is about this girl group. They're all 11-year-old girls, prepubescent girls, who form a dance team. But it's not ballet, this is not jazz, this is the kind of twerking and outfits that would not look out of place in a Cardi B music video. And basically the plot is that religion is bad and sexist, and that it's empowering to be 11 dancing sexually for adults.
Now, it's all over social media, so if you go on now on Twitter, for example, for the folks listening, you'll probably see some of these clips. And I've got to say, the dance moves, I actually think that much considerably older women in a dance program, for example, like high school age girls, would be told, you can't do this. These girls are 11.
Yeah, they're 11. And, I think that we're used to seeing coming of age stories where you have 16-year-olds who are actually portrayed by 18-year-olds or 20-year-olds. And in a way that makes some of these movies less uncomfortable. You have stuff like Game of Thrones, where they try and accurately depict sexual objectification or rape, and they came under a lot of fire for that. The thing that makes this film so creepy and weird is that there is this tacit acknowledgement that they're pushing the line, but they're luxuriating in doing it. There have been plenty of good films that have come out about the very real problem of childhood sexual assault. But the way that this is filmed, it does not treat it like objectification is a bad thing. There was the acknowledgement that they...
No, I'm sorry. I was just going to say, and this is a... who's watching this? I don't mean the Netflix show, because obviously people are watching it now to understand what's being promoted within our culture. But there are adults. I mean, I'm assuming, are there parents showing up to these things? Or how does that piece of this dance troupe work?
So, okay, mind you, this movie has a 90% fresh rating on Rotten Tomatoes from critics. It has 5% from users. So there's just and the New Yorker wrote a piece where they called this movie revelatory, and they were lauding it for this directorial debut, saying that, the right is triggered because they cannot handle the idea of women of color reclaiming the narrative of what it means to be French. No, we can't stand this because it's about 2.5 degrees away from being softcore child pornography.
I mean, is this tantamount to like a pedophile's, entry-level video? I mean, how bad is the stuff you see in the movie?
Oh, it's pretty close to that, I would say. It's not just the dance scenes. There are scenes where you're watching 11-year-old girls view stuff that involves nudity and borders on actual pornography, and just like the salaciousness with which it's done. There have been plenty of movies depicting childhood romances and coming of age. This is not that. This is performative, and it's meant for adults. This is not a movie that is meant for children.
Now, why do you think, and we're speaking to Tina Lowe of the Washington Examiner, why do you think, Tina, that the critics, what do they see? Because I just saw some of the clips on Twitter that people are sending around now saying, look at how gross this is. And I watch Game of Thrones. I like to think that I'm not one of the more prudish conservatives that does this for a living, commentary. I saw this stuff on the video clips, and I was like, this is some weirdo, unacceptable stuff going on here. Why do the critics like it?
So, mind you, there is a pretty long tradition in French cinema and art. I mean, in living memory, Simone de Beauvoir and Jean-Paul Sartre, they all signed letters petitioning the French government to not raise the age of consent so that way 14-year-olds can't have sex with adults. It is a long tradition in the French intelligentsia to sexualize children as some sort of part of post-liberal world order. So that is largely, thank God, been purged from a lot of the cinematic world. And for instance, a film like Louis Malle's Pretty Baby, which was Brooke Shields' debut, in which she depicted a 12-year-old prostitute who had very explicit sex scenes. Something like that I don't think would be ever made stateside today. But still, there is an elite fascination with the idea that children are, I mean, we're seeing this in California, where they have a state Senate bill trying to make it so that way if a man has a same-sex sexual encounter with a child, so long as they're within 10 years of age between each other, it doesn't have to be tried as an outright statutory rape. So this is still sort of persisting. This is the quiet part of the Me Too movement that doesn't get said out loud because children cannot vouch for themselves.
People have been complaining on the right about drag queen story hour for a while now, going back, I think, a couple of years. And they say it's a slippery slope, guys. When you got drag queen story hour with little kids, little kids are being exposed to things that they can't understand, that they should be protected from. Is there now just, you think, an effort underway? And it's tough to say when you talk about things like an effort, who's responsible for it? Well, we're seeing things like this movie that we're talking, or is it a show, movie, whatever, that we're talking about? It's a movie. It won Sundance. Are they trying to normalize underage sexuality? Is that what the left is doing? I mean, what's the goal as you see it?
I don't know if this is a new push so much as it is the internet has made it a lot easier to expose these things when they happen. If anything, it's probably clear that we're making a lot of cultural progress with regards to cultural American values and Hollywood. We are seeing finally a pretty popular rejection of Disney's Mulan, which was filmed in Xinjiang and which openly capitalized on the oppression of Uyghur Muslims. With regards to the drag queen story hour, I mean, I think we're probably making a lot more progress when it comes to stigmatizing the sexualization of children from 30, 40 years ago, but we just now have the internet where everything is fast and it is free. So we are a lot, and maybe it's bad to call it progress, but it is what it is. It's probably now more stigmatized now to accept some of these cultural acts than it was previously. The main concern now really just comes to parenting. How do you ensure that your children, when they have a phone, they have access to the world? How do you parent right so they aren't exposed to this?
Tina Lowe at the Washington Examiner. Tina, you're writing on this, right?
Yes, I am. Piece will be out today.
Check it out, WashingtonExaminer.com. Also, she's a contributor to The First. Tina, thanks so much.
Thanks, Buck.
Hey, Team Buck, thank you so much for watching The First on YouTube. If you like this video, please click that little thumbs up button so then it will log as liked. And also, if you want to see more great content from The First, please click subscribe.